I just came home one day. I went across the bed and I just laid there and I thought, good Lord, is this it? Is this all my life's going to be? I get to work a retail job. I get to tutor children. I get to substitute teach, and I'm just living from paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not going anywhere, doing anything. And I said, I'm just moving to France. And so I started doing some research. I didn't exactly know when, but I knew I was going to. So I started doing all the things I should do and independent. Now, I have always been independent because I had to be, not because I wanted to be. When my husband died, my daughter was 12. I didn't have any choice but to be independent. I had to make the decisions. I had to work 2 jobs. I had to do all that. Here, I get to be independent today and do nothing, or I get to be independent today and go to Paris. I get to make the choices, whereas I think when I was in the States, I would get so bogged down by life and what I was supposed to do and not what I wanted to do. As soon as we got off that train and I started hearing the French language, I'm home. I'm home.
Welcome, I'm your host Deborah, a French teacher for expats over 50. Today you'll meet the fabulous Janice, warm, witty and strong-headed. She moved to France after retirement with her beloved pets and built a life far from ordinary. Bonjour Janice! Comment ça va?
Oh, très bien.
Très bien. Oh, could you give me your sensational bonjour?
I have to say it correct, go bonjour. But if I say it on my video, it's always bonjour.
I think it sounds like so funny the way you say it. And so where is this accent from? Tell us about your origins.
I was raised in Texas, and my mom was from a southern state and my dad was from a southern state. So I just didn't have any choice but to speak Southern.
It's lovely. I like the singing vibe of this accent.
Well, I later on I moved to Georgia in Atlanta, and there the people that are truly from Atlanta, they have a very soft southern drawl. But I think Texas is I don't think it is as nice sing song as what it is in Atlanta. They have like a really, I don't know. To hear an older person, even older than me, in Georgia that has been there all their life, that southern drawl is very, very soft and very ladylike.
But there is something about your voice that I really like.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't know if it's the accent or if it's just like your, the tone of your voice, but I think it's kind of grounding. I like it. I wanted to introduce you, and I think some of our listeners already know you because you are quite there on YouTube. You've got this online presence. You started your first video, it was 3 years ago or?
2021, at the end of 2021, right before I moved in February of 2022.
Yeah. So you started almost straight away after you moved to
I
Fontainebleau?
started right before I moved.
Yeah.
I started in the States. I think I did 2 in the States. One was like a little fashion thing because I'd never done anything like that. And then I did a sit-down video, and that was my first time to do it. And I've gone back and I've looked at that video and I thought, wow, I remember that day so well, and it's like I've changed so much since.
It's good to have it's like a
Yes,
journal. Yeah.
right.
So it was already called Janice in France, the channel at the time?
Yes, Janice in
Yeah.
France. It started out that way. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about you, just a little presentation. I know it's hard to introduce yourself in a few lines, but if you have to, for the people who don't know you yet, how could you introduce yourself? And I'd like to go back to the moment 3 years ago when you decided to move abroad by yourself with your pets. So yeah, just a little introduction and a little bit about how was the Janice of like 3 years ago?
First of all, I was a teacher for 25 years, and I loved every day I got to go to work. I loved being a teacher. I have lived in Africa, Douala, Cameroon, and that's where I got the bug to be a teacher. So I came back and immediately went to college I think I was like, I don't know, 30 years old when I went to college. I had tremendous amount of confidence, tremendous. I ran for homecoming queen. I won first runner up. just had so much confidence. When I was a kid in high school, no confidence. So the older I got, the more confidence I grew in myself. And
Did you work on that? Did you work
no,
on
it
this
just it
confidence?
just
Yeah.
happened.
Okay.
Uh, and I never wanted children, ever, never wanted children. And then when I got married, I think I was 46, I said, I want a baby. So we went through the process, and I have a lovely story on my YouTube about I put it out on Mother's Day about what it was like to adopt Jennifer. And she was uh, just born when I held her. And so I became a mom, which is the best job ever on this earth for me, being a mom. And I've been a teacher, so I've always had this voice that's kind of demanding, sometimes too much. In fact, my daughter used to say, Mom, I can find you anywhere in the store because you talk above everyone else. And I said, I know, sorry, I just have this voice. But I'm an only
For
child.
teaching.
Yep. Yes,
Mm.
from teaching. And I'm very I don't think as much as I used to be, but I think how do I put it, blunt sometimes when I speak or when I answer someone. And I think it will come across sometimes as being maybe rude, but I just like if someone says, Janice, if they're a close friend, of course, do you like this outfit? And I'm going to say, not really. That doesn't do anything for you. You're a beautiful person. You need to wear something that accents your beauty. So I'm just not one of those people that's going to say, "Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Wear that one." I'm just one of those people that are going to tell you exactly what I think.
Yeah,
And
you strike me as someone very authentic and yourself. You seem to like be an open book.
I am, and sometimes too much, and I get criticized for that sometimes, but that's okay. I have put myself out there, and I find it fine. I don't find it. Now, my daughter is not like that at all. At all. She's complete opposite when it comes to me. In fact, when she got married, she said, Mother, we're not putting that on YouTube. I said, but Jennifer, I want to tell. No, Mom, just because you put your life on YouTube, I don't want my life on YouTube.
Tell us about Janice 3 years ago. Where did you live? Where were you in the US at the
I
time?
lived on I think it was about a 300-acre farm,
Okay.
horse farm. And I lived in like a little cabin, not cabin, but rustic house. It was 2 bedrooms, a great big living room, very country. The back had a deck on the outside so the dog and the cat could go out. The cat would roam and bring home little animals, and the dog, I mean, it was very safe. There was no traffic up and down, so it was lovely. And I tutored as a reading teacher for children that I went to their homes, and then I worked at a retail place. So I had 2 jobs. And I just came home one day, and I just remember laying across the bed. Now, remember, I was supposed to move in 2018. I had come, already scouted out the town, already found the town, and life happened in 2018, and I didn't get to move. So this wasn't something that I said in one day, "Oh, I'm moving to Fontainebleau." So I went across the bed, and I just laid there, and I thought, "Good Lord, is this it? Is this all my life's going to be? I get to work a retail job. I get to tutor children. I get to substitute teach, and I'm just living from paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not going anywhere, doing anything." So,
Why, because of the cost of living was too
yeah, and my
expensive?
daughter had moved out of the home. She was making her own living, living her own life. And I said, I'm just moving to France. And so I started doing some research. And the more research I did, I said, okay. I didn't exactly know when, but I knew I was going to, so I started doing all the things I should do, and I had seen this apartment in 2018.
Really?
Yes,
And it
and I
was
didn't
still
like it,
available?
and I did not like it. I said, "Oh, no, I don't like it." But I wanted a French with the rock and
Mm.
that kind of look, and I had found, a house like that here in Fontainebleau. It was a little bit more out of my budget, but the furnishing and everything was perfect, and the landlord wouldn't agree to take my cat. I've learned since then that they're not supposed to ask you about animals. So, but anyway, I said, okay. So I kept trying to find a place and I just went back to that place. I even said, I promise you, I would give you a deposit, 1 month's deposit if you'll let me move there because it was just perfect. And the landlords were from UK, so they spoke English. So it was very easy to communicate with them. They just wouldn't agree. The husband would not agree to it. So I said, okay. So I messaged my landlord now, Robin and Vince. And I said, Robin, I said, is it going to be available anytime soon? Because I tried long-term rentals on Airbnb, just wasn't. And she said, will it be available February the 1st? Well, that gave me my date to start getting my paperwork ready
Yeah.
because you need to do it like I think 60 days or 90 days before you leave and go ahead and get my ticket for my animals and a ticket for me, a ticket for my daughter because I was bringing over 2 animals, so you can't carry 2 animals and suitcases and all of that, so she came over with me, and that's when I decided that February the 1st would be my date to arrive in,
Yeah. That
France.
gives a little structure and a little
Yes, yeah.
plan.
It
Mm,
was like, "I'm moving to France when? I don't know. Now I know." You know?
mm. And for a little background, you said that in 2018 you already had scouted Fontainebleau.
Yes,
You knew that you didn't want to go to Paris, but you wanted to go to Fontainebleau to
right.
be pronounced. You told me that
I
you
keep
worked on
wanting
the
to say
pronunciation.
we.
So
Yes.
for the listener, there is like in French, there is combination of letters that create strange sound, and I-A-U, creates the sound O. So we say Fontainebleau,
Bleu, bleu,
Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly. So you
so
scouted Fontainebleau
I did
because
5 countries. I did 5
okay.
countries in 2018. I
Ah.
just wanted to know if I had that same feeling in other countries.
Mhm.
I had it because of the language in Scotland. I liked that
Mhm.
part, but it just didn't it just didn't draw me in, so I came back to Paris, and I thought, "Well, I'm gonna take a day trip to Fontainebleau and see the chateau," and then I thought, "No, I'm gonna spend a couple of days there." So, I spent a couple of days here, got a little Airbnb, fell in love with it. When I got off the bus and I was just sitting there, and I know it just sounds so absolutely cliche, but I got off the bus, there was this carousel, and I was in the middle of town, and I said, "Oh, this is where I want to live.
Wow.
This is
Yeah.
exactly." So, it really wasn't I chose it, it chose me.
Love at first sight kind of
Absolutely, it
scenario.
was, and when I came to see this apartment, the real reason I loved the apartment, not the inside, but I loved where it was located because you have the touristy part in the front of the main drag, and I'm in the back. Now I can be there within 20 minutes of walking. So it's not like it's far, but it's like if you just go around a circle, I'm in the back. So I'm not, it's very quiet. I don't, I don't run into tourists and all that. Not that that's a problem, but you know what I mean? It's just not noisy or anything. And I can let my dog and my cat out.
Exactly. And since you came from the country, you were in the country before, it would have been a bit of a shock to go to the noise.
Right. And that's another thing. I didn't want to live in Paris because my cat is an outdoor cat. And I knew she couldn't be an outdoor cat. The first year, in fact, I was worried about her being on the balcony, whether she would jump. Well, fortunately, she's smart enough not to do that. And but now I take her outside in the morning and she stays outside for about an hour and a half. Now that's if the weather's good. If the weather's cold, I don't take her out 'cause she wouldn't enjoy it. And then she meows and then I go back down and get her and she comes up the steps, she gets in the elevator and comes in the house.
That's fantastic. It's like a
So
dog.
so it made me happy that I can make her happy, and then my other little dog that I brought with me, he passed away last March, but he was fine here. I have the kind of dog, Shih Tzu, that they don't care where they are as long as they're with you. So anyway, it was more perfect for me because I had been used to living out in the country, but I have never been a country girl, ever. I've always lived in the city, been a big city girl, always. But I think that little bit of living out in the country kind of made me want to live in a smaller town.
Yeah, it kind of influenced you.
Yes.
Mm. So what were the other country? You mentioned Scotland, France, and what was on your list, the three
Austria,
others?
Czech Republic. I went to Poland, but I just wanted to go to Poland. I really thought about Austria too, because Austria is gorgeous, but it just didn't. I don't know because I had come to Paris so often. Maybe I was more familiar.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that there was a pull there. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking, I want to write a book one day. And um, and I'm thinking, where else could I be so inspired? I can be in
Mhm.
Paris. I can sit at a coffee shop. And I know that another cliche, but it is true.
But
Where
there is
else
so
can you
much
go?
history in
It
Paris. Like
is.
every street, just the name of the street is like history, and so many artists have been there. I think surely the city has a little bit of this energy, like the energy of like
Absolutely it
the
does.
artists, the
I still think
writers.
it has the
Mm,
energy
yeah.
for artists and writers. We're all not Hemingway, but that doesn't mean that in our own perspective that we can't get what they received when they were here, because
Exactly.
it is gorgeous.
Like the Woody Allen movie, Midnight in Paris.
Oh,
Have
my
you?
favorite.
Yeah.
I watch it at least once a year. I have purchased it finally because I
Yeah.
watched
Yeah.
it so many times. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, you can feel like the vibe and the inspiration.
you
And I
can.
think for me, Paris is that when I go to Paris, it's just to have like a little bit of a shoot of inspiration. And yeah, I think, have you heard of astro? I think it's called astrocartography. It's like a
Yes,
mix between
yes,
astrology and
yes,
places.
yes. And France
And
is one of my
yeah,
places.
really? Ah, you
Yes, it
did
is.
it. Ah, I just discovered that recently. And I was like, that's so interesting that some places will encourage some side of your personality. And I saw that some places are good for writing books or like more
Right.
like, so yeah, Paris is one of your place then.
Yes. And I used to watch this YouTuber called Helen Woods, and she does a great deal of that. And so I thought, well, I'm going to look that up and see. And France is one of the countries. Yeah.
Yeah. So you felt it intuitively when you
Absolutely. And
arrived.
so when I would come to Paris and visit and go, and I always went outside of Paris because I always wanted to go to other towns like Versailles, and, other places, even though they're touristy, uh, there's still people living there. It's not just the Eiffel Tower. And so I would always get on the plane and I'd always be like feeling like I left my best friend behind. And I
Yeah. So
think
you
what
have the
it was is
connection.
I left the real Janice behind.
The real one.
Mhm.
Oh,
I think I left the real independent, wanting to be here, wanting to because I said in the '80s when I lived in Africa, the first time we came to France, I said, "I'm gonna live here one day."
so there
So
was the
it
seeds
was
already.
already ingrained in me somewhere, but
Mm.
I always got on the plane and I always felt like I was losing part of me when I returned to the States.
Yeah, so how is this French Janice? I will say it with the French voice. How is the French Janice? You mentioned that there is something a little bit freer about her, but because you show in your YouTube video how you reinvent yourself in your golden years in France, in Paris. So, like, what's the difference between this false Janice, as you said, like the real Janice is the Paris one? So, how is she?
Number 1, she's happier. Number 2, she is very independent. Now, I have always been independent because I had to be, not because I wanted to be. Although I don't know, maybe I did want to be, but I've always been independent because when my husband died, my daughter was 12, and I didn't have any choice but to be independent. I had to be independent. I had to make the decisions. I had to work 2 jobs. I had to do all that. Here, I get to be independent today and do nothing, or I get to be independent today and go to Paris. I get to make the choices, whereas I think when I was in the States, I would get so bogged down by life and what I was supposed to do and not what I wanted to do. Now, being a mom and raising a child, like I said, was the best job I ever had. But you have to really work at being a mom. It's not just something that, you have to work at it. You have to make sure that she's getting what she needs and she's going on the vacations that she needs to go on. And there was always something to be doing, but now it's a freedom. There, it wasn't a freedom I felt. Here in Paris and on my vacations when I went, it was always a freedom that I felt like I had here, but not there. I am people said the other day because I had said something about I might be going home, I had been having some panic attacks and et cetera, and, people said, "Well, I think you're just lonely," and I said, "Oh, no, I'm never lonely. I live alone, but I'm never lonely." But I don't know, the whole Janice eating better, living better, walking, I didn't do that at home, I'd get in the car and travel, and everything was in the car.
When you mention being independent before was kind of a must, an obligation. You had to be independent
It was
just
forced on me, yes,
to
absolutely.
to raise your daughter. And now you are independent by choice, and it's kind of
Right.
in your power. But do you feel before, because you were in your society, in your home country, do you feel like you were also too controlled by like the conformity, the people's opinion, like what you mentioned about being a mom, like what society expected you as a mom, what society expected you as a teacher, as
That's right,
and do you feel that
absolutely,
maybe here you are just like a little bit away from like this conformity or those
absolutely.
social expectations?
As a teacher, I was expected to dress a certain way, which, of
Mhm.
course, I didn't dress any other way, but you still had to pay attention to what you wore. If you this was always my thing. If you looked in the mirror the first time and you were thinking, maybe or maybe not, take it off. 'Cause it's a knot, and you had to just make sure that, and as a mom, I was a mom. I mean, listen, when that child was born, I said my husband the night before, I said, "I don't know what the big deal is. It's just a baby. It isn't going to change anything." And from the moment I held her, it changed everything in my whole world. I mean, I thought about, health wise and taking care of her and all that other kind of stuff. My whole life changed. And when I became a mom, the way I dressed changed, you know. Um,
How did you dress as a young mom?
well, as a young mom, I dressed very, what's the word? Well, dressed like I did as a teacher. But, before I became a mom, I was married and my husband and I wanted to go out. Maybe I'd wear something a little sexy on, in a blouse or this or that or something like that. And I always had the nails done and I always had the hair done. I mean, just, and then as a mom, it was like I was I was someone that I wanted my child to look up to. I didn't want my child to be embarrassed. So when I would go to her school, or anything like that, I wanted her to look up to mom and not be embarrassed by, "Why did you wear that, mother?" Well, of course, I'm sure she didn't like my clothes as they were, but that's just children for you. But I never wanted her to see, "Oh, that's how you're supposed to dress as a mother?" Even she now, she says, "Mom, I even know as a wife, I don't dress the same as I did before I became a wife." And she said, "Because I don't want to be looked at by other men as maybe I did a year ago before I got married."
Yeah,
And I
there is
thought,
those
"Okay,
slight changes.
absolutely."
It's even unconscious of most of the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
yeah.
But, and so I think you're right. I think, uh, I had to I don't know that I had to be, but it was just expected. We had certain rules at school. I mean, you didn't wear blue jeans as a teacher.
Yeah,
Never did we wear jeans. Now, every once in a while, at the very end of my career, you could wear blue jeans on Friday, but
yeah,
you'd
the
have to
casual
wear a top.
Fridays, no?
Yeah, but
Mm,
you'd have to wear a top like this. You couldn't wear like a sweatshirt
mm.
or anything like that. You couldn't wear tennis shoes. I always dressed up, so it didn't bother me, but I really liked the blue jean day, but we couldn't wear blue jeans during the week. Now I think you can now.
When you mentioned this independence, that's the word that you used. Like you spoke about independence regarding your way of dressing up, and I think it really shows in your YouTube channel. I think you do like lots of video about it. What are the other manifestation of this independence? You find this like a new independence in Fontainebleau in Paris through your appearance, the way you dress up. Like, is there any other way of exploring this new independence for you?
Ooh, I don't know. The dresses especially, and every day before I even take Max out in the morning, cream goes on my face and lipstick goes on. Never did I do that before. Ever did I do that. Never. But that's just here and it's just changed. I don't want anyone to see me on the street. No, no. I don't know why. No one's ever said that. No one's ever said, I don't want you on the street because no one probably even sees me, but it's how I want to be
Yeah. Yeah.
looked at. I want to
Mhm.
be, "Oh, she just got out of bed." But
Yeah.
you know that you mentioned that this morning I was doing a live on Instagram, and I remember when I was a child, I remember my mother was in the bathroom, and I walked by, and she was putting on lipstick, and I said, "Where are you going?" And she said, "I'm not going anywhere." And she said, "Just because you put on lipstick doesn't mean you have to go somewhere." And then I thought, "Oh god, I've turned into my mother." Oh,
No,
I
but
think
it's because you see yourself in the mirror. I don't know if you have many mirror, but at least you've got the bathroom mirror. And like for instance, I work a lot from home, and the truth is that I look less after myself when you're home, like you are more casual
right.
but when I see myself in the mirror, it's not as nice as when I get ready for you going out. And it's just a little nicer reflection when you put a little bit of it doesn't need to be rouge à lèvres, lipstick, but it could be, as you said, the hair or just little something. It's also, I think, a matter of being dignified. Like I know that my granddad was always very like he always used to brush his hair and put a little bit of cologne or perfume, like make sure his clothes was good. Just for me, the word that comes to mind is like being dignified, like
Right.
out of respect as well for the people and just like looking good, just to
Do you
also bring a smile.
do you know every time I do a video, I have cologne on?
You
It's
have
just I have
I
cologne
color.
on.
Ah, yeah.
I do. Every time I do a
Yeah.
video, I do the whole thing with cologne, and I think
Mm,
because it makes me feel better,
yeah.
I mean, no one else is going to smell it.
I have I don't know if you know those things, papier
No.
d'Arménie. Actually, it's made in France, I think. It's called Armenian paper, but it's made in France. And there are those little paper that you put in a accordion like this,
Yeah.
and you burn, and they smell so good. And
Oh,
it's a
how
way for me. I
wonderful.
often burn them, like when I travel, and it's always the smell that comes with me in a room, in my
Oh, I
bedroom,
like
or
that. The
yeah. And
smell
this
is
one,
so important.
yeah, it
Yes, I
actually has
love
an
that.
impact on the mood, the smell.
Yes,
Like,
it does.
yeah. So the perfume is also for ourselves, like to, yeah, you
Absolutely. Yeah,
recognize,
it's
yeah.
not for anyone else but me. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what is the French joie de vivre? Joie
Joie
de
de
vivre?
vivre,
I
oui.
that saying to me, I never want to overuse it, but that is how I feel here
Hmm.
compared to when I go back to the States. And it has nothing to do with politics, not a thing.
Mhm.
Because I haven't been back in 2 years. But when I went back last time, it was like everybody was in such a hurry and everybody it just, nobody slowed down for anything. And then I remember the day that I left, I had to make a change from Atlanta to to Atlanta to Minneapolis. And of course, there were other people there going to France, and I heard the French language, and I thought, "Oh, I'm going home." I didn't have a
Oh.
clue what they were saying, but it didn't matter. I just knew I was going home, and the
Hmm.
language said, "I'm going home." And then I did the same thing last year when Jen and Axel were in London with me. I enjoyed being in London, but as soon as we got off that train and I started hearing the French language, I'm home. I'm home, you know?
So
So it
lovely.
really has nothing to do with the States. It really has something to do with me.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. You mentioned that to me that in your community there is a lot of people very concerned about the US policies or
Right,
politics,
right.
and they want to make the move for external reason.
And
And
many
you,
people are.
yeah, and you put the focus that it's important that comes from you, that it should be also like an internal movement, not to move because you're forced to or you feel you're forced to, but it's important that it's also like that it should be also a call, like you have to feel like called, no, by a certain country. Or
I think
I mean,
so.
it's, yeah,
I
I
just
mean, it's
don't
not
think.
always the case. Sometimes you are a refugee and you don't have choice, or but
That's right, right. And that's not the situation. It's not like they're having to leave because they're being forced out, or they're not having to leave because of, something horrible. It's just they don't like the politics. They don't like, so they want to go to another place. Now, a lot of people are leaving not just because of politics, because it's so much easier financially to live here. And especially as a single woman, it would cost, if I went back to the States, I did a video on that just recently. If I went back to the States, I'd have to have a car. I'd have to have insurance because I can't depend on my daughter to take me to the grocery store or anything like that, or the doctor or whatever. I could not travel. I'd be stuck right there in town and I would be miserable. And I would get to see my daughter, of course, but she has her own life.
yeah.
So a lot of people, and my whole point was, don't leave because you're angry, you know, because it's like, don't leave because you've just become a widow and you need a change. Don't leave just because you've had a divorce. Because just because you're leaving and you get on that plane, you take all those feelings with you.
Exactly. Don't flee. That's why you want to say,
Don't
don't
flee.
escape.
No,
Mm,
it isn't an escape because all those feelings are still with you. But if
exactly.
you have been drawn to something, and maybe because you don't agree with the political people or whatever's going on in your life, and you've always been drawn to France or Italy or Spain or wherever, maybe now is the time, but it's because you've been drawn there before, not because now you feel like you've got to flee.
Yeah, I relate to that because I'm a lifelong expat. And before that, I used to live 1 year in a place and I would always change. And I think there was a part of me that was a little bit escaping because I was only good with honeymoons. Like it was like the honeymoon of the city and the
Absolutely.
honeymoon of friendships and the honeymoon of everything. And I loved it. And every time I wanted to leave before it got too
That's right.
real. And I think you are kind of missing like the a part, like it's not the real experience and it's
Right.
not as deep. And
Well,
yeah.
that's like people that come to Paris and they love it and they leave and they think, oh, I'm going to move there one day. Keep coming back. I used to
Mm.
come back every 2 years. Every 2 years, I keep coming back. And I loved Paris. I'd leave the door open so I could hear the ambulance, the cars, the people on the street. It was wonderful. But the thing about it is, it, I kept coming back to it. And you just have to have that feeling, that longing, I think, for you to be happy. Because it's hard being an expat.
You mentioned to me that you said you are saying to your friends or to the people in your community to come to Paris in the midst of the winter to have a true picture of what's life.
Hold on 1 second, please. I have to sneeze.
À tes souhaits, we say in French. À tes souhaits,
Oh,
to your wishes.
oh, I love that. Um,
The first thing we say à tes souhaits, and if you sneeze a second time, I think you'd like that, we say à tes amours, to
I
your
taste some more.
loves. Ouais,
Oh, I like
à tes
that.
amours.
See, the French make even
Mm.
sneezing sound romantic. But I saw you interviewing a couple the other day, and they live
Mhm.
half in America and half in France. And she
Yes.
said, don't give me the winter here.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a bit different from what you're saying. Yeah,
I
she
love the
takes
winter
the
here.
best.
I love the winters here. I have some friends that just moved here last year, and when it became January, They left and went to Spain. They went all over where it was warm. And I said, it's beautiful here. Yes, it's cold and it's rainy and sometimes it's yucky outside, but it's well, that was a horrible word to use. It's cold and it's just miserable outside, but you know what? Inside, you've got that hot chocolate and you've got writing in your journal and you've got, the peace of being in the warmth. I love it.
To be fair, I have to precise that there is a difference between winter in Paris or Fontainebleau and winter in the deep countryside. If you go to the deep countryside in France, depends where, but maybe that's what she meant. Like maybe because the village get a little bit like there is less life, and there is a lot of. I come from a town like in next to the beach in the south of France, and in the summer it's high season. All the shops are
Oh,
open.
yes.
And in the winter, it's ghost city, ghost town. There is because also in France there is like for taxation, it's worth it for business to be seasonal because they pay less tax. So a lot of business close down, like when it's a touristic place.
Okay.
And maybe there is this kind of sometimes in those villages it can become a little bit gloomy in the winter,
Oh,
but
okay.
maybe it's in every country. I don't know, but I think that's what she meant.
That could be because when I went to Monton, I loved it. But I've heard that in the winter, it's very, isolated feeling. But I was talking more about the weather, the actual being cold and gloomy. And I love it. I don't want to go anywhere during January and February. We had beautiful weather, and we've had beautiful weather in May and June.
Mm. And it's an art to like go with the season and in the winter to just like go more like inside, be more introspective, right? And have
Right,
a cup of tea or coffee,
right.
put nice clothes on.
Yes, always.
Mm.
I love
Uh,
winter clothes. Maybe that's why I like winter so much.
What did you bring with you clothes-wise when you first arrived? How many suitcases did you have? Because I know
Three.
that's a question. People are like, "Oh, how are you supposed to like sell a whole life like of accumulation? Like, what did you do with your belongings? And like, did you have to sell everything?"
I sold everything, but I didn't mind it. I didn't want I didn't want to hold on to anything. The only thing that my daughter and I put in storage was my china, my all my crystal, but because that all goes to her anyway. And she lived in an apartment, she didn't have a place for it. Now she has a home, but at that particular time, I put that in storage, but that was just for her. Pictures of me she wanted for her, pictures of her when she was a baby, and she brought me a ton of them last Christmas. So I finally brought those, but I didn't want, I wanted everything to be different. And I'm not one of those, I'm very minimalistic. Like I have a wall over there with nothing on it, and that's okay.
But were
You
you
know,
always like this, Janice? Like you said that you didn't want to hold on. Is it since you
oh
decided,
no,
okay,
I've
I'm
always been
changing
like
my
that.
life? Are you always been, okay, a
Yes, I've always been like
minimalist?
that.
Yeah. So you have few clothes, but you love the piece. You have few like furniture, but you love them. Like you really like
Well,
select.
no, I'm going to go back on that. I've always been, when Jennifer was growing up, the home, we always had the interior designer come in and we had to have it just perfect. Everything had to be perfect. The curtains had to be handmade. No, it just, all that kind of stuff. And of course, as the years went by, that wasn't as necessary. And the older I became, it was like that picture, if it is not my daughter, I don't need it. I didn't ever have any great artwork. Um, I'm not, it isn't that I'm not into art. It's, I'm very indecisive when it comes to art. So I never could make up my mind what I wanted. And I was always changing the theme of I might go French chic or shabby chic. And then maybe I would just go country look. So I never was the same all the time. Here, I'm just whatever I want.
Yeah, I think from what I see from your video, you are in French, we say une esthète. Esthète, I don't know if you can say that in English, are the people who care for the aesthetic of
Yeah,
things, like
aesthetic. Uh-huh.
for the beauty of things. And you seem to be like to put a lot of beauty in your life, even in the details. And maybe that's why you have a match with France and Paris, because I think it's quite detail oriented, and it's like this slow living, the art of like putting attention to those details.
It's like I have a silk scarf in there I fell in love with, and I bought it a couple of months ago, and it does not match anything in my bedroom, nothing. But I have it hanging up because I think it's beautiful.
And it
But
brings joie de
and
vivre.
it brings joy. Every time I look in there, I go, love that silk scarf, you know.
Mm.
But and it's things like that. Now I don't like my bedroom because I really rushed to put it together, but it isn't important enough for me to get rid of everything and start all over. That would be just a waste of money. I could go on a trip or buy another piece of clothing. And I do love beautiful clothes, but I've always done that. I've always loved
Yeah.
beautiful clothes. And I
You
did bring, when I came, of course, I moved in the winter. So I brought tremendous amount of clothing for winter because winter lasts a long time here. You know,
yes.
it's not just a 1 or 2 months like it is in the state or where I was. Um, it does last a long time. And then I brought some summer items. And then I had a friend come over in March, and he was kind enough to bring me some items.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
of clothing items. And my daughter, I would just say, okay, send it to my daughter. And then my daughter would take it to him, or things that I just, not that I necessarily can't find here, but items that I would find very hard to find my size. And so it's just easier for me to just say, get that, bring it over here, that kind of thing. But and then I buy Monoprix. I have on jeans from Monoprix. I
Let's
bought a blouse.
let's say what's Monoprix for the
Oh,
people who still
okay.
don't know. It's a supermarket, but it's got also some clothes.
It has clothes, it has makeup, it has things for your home good items. We have a Target at home, and it's like a mini Target. And the other day I went in there, they had the cutest blue and white striped dress. I said, I want that dress because I have a blue sweater. I know that I can put over this, over the, now that I've been doing this and I watch so many people, because I didn't know to do this before I came to France and I started learning about putting clothes together. And so I had that blue and white stripe, and I thought, oh, and I have a perfect blue sweater that I can put over my shoulders that will match with that, so
I
you
have
don't.
a question about that. Do you think the fact that now you are a YouTuber because you are quite consistent, you told me that you post 2 videos a week. I was quite impressed by your
Thursday and
rhythm.
Sunday, yes.
And you basically, it's also like one of the way to reinvent yourself, I think, to become this storyteller, to tell your story, to create this community around you, to have this, you seem to have a relation with the people who are part of your community, you answer to their questions. And so like, do you think also when you decide to purchase this dress, you also do it because you have those videos coming along and yeah, tell us a little bit like the storytelling and the fact that you decided to put your video on YouTube. How did that also change your life? Change like
Oh,
uh,
goodness. It changed my life tremendously. I was walking down the street about 2, 3 months ago, and all of a sudden I heard this lady say, Janice in France? And I turned and I said, yes. And she goes, oh, it's really you. And I went, yes, it's me. And she said, I moved here because of you. And I said, oh
wow,
And I said, "Oh,
oh,
that's
so
awesome." So
nice.
she's from Florida, and
How did you react? Were you like emotional, like when
no,
she said she
no,
moved
I mean, I
because
was
of
like,
you?
"Wow." She was like, "Oh, you're really here?" And I thought, "Oh." But I was so glad I was dressed up. I was going to go get a facial, so I didn't have any makeup on except lipstick. And I'm so glad that I was dressed up halfway decent because I thought, oh my God, she would have thought. So I think I do tend to do that. And then I have meetups twice a month during the summer at Le Bleu and at Gare de Lyon. And so of course, I'll dress up for that. Number one, I have the opportunity to dress up. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, an opportunity. And I think Janice has become Janice in France. Even though I was Janice in France on a YouTube, but I think Janice has become Janice in France. But no, I think that that's what's happened to me. I have become Janice in France because
Mhm.
that is the person that I think I've always wanted to be. So this platform has given me the opportunity to be that person, you know,
And who is Janice in France?
very loving, very free going. Now, of course, I'm like everyone else. I get stressed out about money. I get stressed out about gaining weight, all this kind of stuff. But that's Janice, period. I've always been like that. I was telling my daughter the other day about it. She said, "Oh, Mom, you just overreact to everything about your weight." And I said, "I know, but that's just me. I've always done that. But here, I know that I'm eating good food. I'm not eating food that have been, has all the products and the stuff that we pump into it in the States and maybe other countries. I'm just not familiar with other countries, so I have to refer back to the United States. What I eat here is more clean, healthy. I'm doing something for my body. So I think Janice has become Janice in France. I want to make sure that what I eat is clean, whereas I didn't even think about that in the States.
I think a lot of people, a lot of American or foreigners that move to France underline this this art of slow living that seems to be quite part of France. Like
Right,
I think, like there is this slow food movement. There is, I don't know if you saw Kilomètre Zero. Like it's like some sort of label that says that the food comes from very near. Like there is not
right,
a long distance.
right,
And I think there is a lot of in phases in France towards like eating seasonally, eating organic food. You mentioned
right,
that you are going to the organic store, the
right.
Biocoop
Feel cup.
as well. Yeah, la Biocoop.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that at home because it was so much more expensive to buy organic food
Mm.
in the States. I did buy some, but especially vegetables. I always bought organic vegetables. Now I don't eat red meat, so I don't have any problem with that here because I only eat fish and chicken, and that has nothing to do with anything except that's just my preference. And another thing about that I have become more aware of, French people are very conservative. That's why we take bags to the grocery store to buy our clothes or I mean to buy our food because we don't want all that plastic, you know.
You don't do that in the US? Is it, do you still
No, no.
give, the shop, they still give
Yes,
plastic
yes,
bags for
yes,
free?
for free.
Mm. Ah, yeah. Oh,
So,
that's a big difference.
and then here at my apartment, we have a bin for trash, then we have a bin for glass, and then we have a bin for plastic. And so I'm very much aware when I take my garbage out of what
Mhm.
goes in what. It's so to conserve,
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's a big difference.
yes, a big difference, and it took me a while. No telling, I can't tell you how many bags I bought the first 3 months I was here because I'd always forget to take my bag.
Yeah.
And then I have the carry thing that, rolls on the roller. I call it my granny bag
Ah,
because you only see
the
older
caddy.
women wearing it, using it,
Ah,
you know.
I
So I
saw
call it my granny
Janice.
bag.
I saw some very fancy one. They are like baskets. They are made, with rattan, but they still roll. But they look so fancy because they are like the same as
Oh,
baskets. Yeah, because
yes,
sometimes we associate those caddies with like les grand-mères, the grandmother.
that's right, right. That's why I call it my granny bag. I have my granny bag and I have my designer bag.
It's
But
important to have tote bags.
yeah,
Always
it is.
have a tote bag in your main bag.
Well, I always, I have animals, so I'm always buying dog food or cat litter, and I live a mile from the store, so I'm not going to carry that when I have something like that I
Yeah.
can put it in.
Now you mention grocery shopping. I noticed when I observed my French friends, like especially females, that's a tendency. Well, maybe when you have kids, it's different. You have to plan more for the meals. But I often see that the fridges of my friends are often quite empty
Oh, mine
because
is
people
too.
purchase the same day. They go to, especially when you live in a town or city, it's more doable. But they just go. They go to the market. They buy like exactly the amount of cheese they need. They buy, like they have an inspiration. What do I fancy today? And they
Mhm.
just get the little portion that they
That's right.
need.
That's what
And
I
this
do.
is a little bit the frugality, no? You can say frugality in English, like
Yes,
being frugal.
frugal.
Uh, yeah. So I noticed that maybe French people are quite like that.
Yes, and Americans, when we go grocery shopping, we either go for a full week, sometimes even 2 if we have a family. And we have the
Mm,
big, we have the big Costco that everyone
yeah.
goes to, and they get, 6 months of toilet tissue and 6 months of paper towels, and I used to do the same thing, but here
Everything XXL.
we don't
Yeah.
have the storage,
No.
so if I need any type of paper item, I usually buy for 2 weeks because I know I can
Mm.
always go down to the store. The same thing with milk.
Yeah, and then when you are at home and you don't have the fridge full, it actually triggers this, okay, what do I need? What do I want? And then you have to, I'm often like that. I'm like, what will I eat today? And then you create this desire, this like longing that maybe you don't have when you buy like tons of food, like
Right,
because you just open the fridge and eat whatever's there, but you
right.
don't really have this kind of longing. Why
You're
not
not
to go to,
not
yeah.
conscious of what you're
Hmm.
eating. You're just eating because it's there.
Yeah,
And no, my
exactly.
fridge is very bare.
Ah.
I have milk. I have no condiments. I have no ketchup. I have no mayonnaise. I
Mhm.
have no mustard, nothing like that. No hot sauce.
Mm.
I have in my freezer, I go to Picard to get
Ah,
my frozen vegetables and my frozen because I don't buy the only vegetable that I really buy are vegetables that I use in a salad during the week at the marché because I don't want them to go bad and waste food.
what is Picard for the people who don't know? How do you, that doesn't exist in the US.
It's
Um,
all frozen food only.
yeah, but it's a little bit fancy frozen food, no? It's a little
Right,
bit like upmarket. And they also have a frozen dish that are, it's not processed, but pre-made. I think
right.
some of them
And they
are good.
even have little things that you can have for lunch if you want,
Mm.
for one person.
Yeah,
They have
yeah.
the best pizza.
Ah, yes.
The best pizza ever. And every
Mm.
once in a while, when I want pizza, I never order. We have a Domino's here, which I would never eat at ever. I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong about Domino's. It's just that it has so many preservatives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I will go to Picard and get my pizza there. I'm just so much more aware of the food here and
Mhm.
what I take into my body.
I have a question, sorry, that's maybe a bit personal, but I heard that from many Americans that moved to France. They say that yes, the food is cleaner, but there is so much, you know, uh, appeal with the lovely bread, with those boulangeries, les croissants, les chocolatines, le fromage. So I heard that at the beginning, there is this tendency maybe to gain weight. And I wanted to ask you, like, how did you find that for yourself? Like, was it hard, like, to this change of habits? Like, was there a moment of,
The first 2 years that I was here, number one, I never buy bread. I hardly ever buy cheese
mm,
because I'm just not a big cheese lover. The
ah,
only time I will buy cheese, and it will always be from the store in town that only sells fromage. That's the only I won't buy it from the little store. But and I only do that if I'm going to have an omelet that week. It's not something that I buy a bunch of and I have it sitting in there. But I don't eat baguettes. Croissant is okay, but it's just not now pain au chocolat in the winter with hot chocolate, that's what got me this year. But I never the patisserie and all of that, it just never was, I'm a big ice cream lover, and really, I could have a ice cream over a croissant. I mean, I just would. I'm not a big bread eater, so I didn't fall into that, and I don't drink wine. And I don't eat a lot of cheese, and I've had so many people say, "You're in the wrong country," you know, you it's ridiculous," and I'm sorry, but I do have, at Christmas, I always have, some people over, and I do have the charcuterie board with several cheeses on it and stuff like that, but I'm just not a big cheese lover. I just, not that I'm against it, I like it, it's just
yeah.
not something I would buy just for me. For
Mm.
company, yes.
Yeah.
you know,
So you do things with moderation naturally. Mm.
always. But I wasn't
Yeah.
like that in the States.
No, you were a bit not really in
Well,
control
okay,
or
but okay, so let me go back. I guess maybe I was, but in the States, I could go get in my car and 10 minutes down the road, I'm at McDonald's if I want ice cream. Or if I want a cheeseburger, I'm 12 minutes down the street in my car. Here, number one, I
Ah,
don't eat red meat anymore. Number two, I wouldn't dare eat ice cream at 10:30 at night like I would in the States. I'd be watching a movie and say, "Oh, it's almost time for McDonald's to close. I think I'm gonna go get some soft serve ice cream." I wouldn't do that here, but I did that there. I just got into some bad habits.
as you mentioned before, taking the car, it is true that USA or for me, I know New Zealand because my partner is from New Zealand, and I think it's a bit similar. Everything has to be done with the car because also
Absolutely.
the cities are quite spread. I think it's a bit the
Right.
same in the US, so it's kind of hard to walk from one place to another. So everyone always drive, and that must be a big lifestyle change also not to have the car, like to just walk. You must crank up
It
the
was
steps every
it
day.
was so, so much of a relief to come here and not have to have a car payment, not to have to worry about insurance payment, and I can just walk to my pharmacy, I can walk to the groomer, I can walk to the veterinarian, I can walk to my doctor, and even if it's bad weather, I just walk 5 minutes down the street and I'll get the bus. To me, it was such a positive thing, and I know some people, I guess, find that hard to not have as a vehicle to get around, and I know I'm missing out on seeing some lovely villages because I don't have a car. But that's okay. I can see other things, and if I wanted to, I really could rent a car. I don't
Ah,
want
it's
to. I have
possible
no
with
desire.
your driving license.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah, I could
drive?
rent a
Yeah,
car for a weekend, but
yeah.
I don't care to do that.
How do you find the public transportation, like from Fontainebleau? If you want
Oh,
to, you said that sometimes there is some village that you can't access with the bus, but how do you
well,
find the connection?
as long as there's not a strike, it's lovely.
La grève, oh là là.
When I walk to the bus, to go to the train station, it's quite a little bit of a hike, which is nice. But if I had to, I could walk to the train station.
How
It's
far is
only about
it?
2 miles away. I could
Mm,
do that, but
yeah.
I'm lazy, so I don't walk that
Mm.
far. But as long as there's not a strike, I mean, and the the other day I was standing, on our buses, people ask, they see you coming in and they will ask if you want to take the seat. And the other day I just sat down and I was getting ready to get off and I noticed an older woman come on, even older than me, if you can believe that. And she had a cane and I got up immediately so that she could sit down. And I don't know, had I not been living here, that I would have done that. And it wouldn't be because I'm not nice or not, I just wouldn't think of it.
Do you think that people are more educated or aware of?
Respect.
Yeah.
It's respect.
Mm.
I think I just know that I'd never seen it. I'd never experienced it because I'd never had a bus, but I'd been on trains before, but even the little train that goes back and forth from Paris to here, uh, even if it's crowded or something, they will let you sit down. It's just very respectful, and I don't know if it's my age or if it's just I don't know, the language is very, formal, it is very respectful, um, you don't walk into a store and say, "I want that" bonjour. You don't
Bonjour.
do that
Mhm.
because you make your presence known, you make them know
Mm.
that you're there, that you're happy to be there. It's just a respect. So I think there is a tremendous amount of respect here. The same thing when you're standing in a like Monoprix and you want to purchase something, you're standing in line and there's only one person there on the register. You don't say, "Well, why don't you get somebody else on that register?" "I'm in a hurry." You just wait.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that the rhythm is a bit a slower pace. It makes also the relationship maybe more human. Like You look at people in the eyes, and maybe as well, if you go to the countryside, automatically there is a small chat. I don't know in Fontainebleau how is the life with the
Lovely,
people that works in the shop.
lovely.
Yeah. But you're right to underline the formality. I find now I have a bit of distance towards my country after having lived abroad. I can say that French people always apologize in the street if they touch you by accident. And
Pardon?
sometimes when
Pardon?
I'm abroad, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of shocked that people don't say anything. And
No.
I'm like, there is a lot of form. And we often use the conditional, like when we are, I don't know, at the market, we say je voudrais,
Right.
j'aimerais. We use the conditional. When I'm in Spain, sometimes I use the conditional, and one of the guy at the market said, "Oh, you speak like the queen." They are not used to it. They use the imperative. They say, give me that, dame el pan."
Hmm.
And after they say maybe please, but it's more like direct, and like the language is more like straightforward, pam pam. And in France, it's like there is still all those forms.
Yes, and I think that's the
I,
way it is in the States, and I'm not saying everyone is like that. I was like that. I would
mm,
walk into a store and I would say, if I was looking for the computer section, I'd say, "Where's the computers?" "Oh, okay, thank you." I wouldn't say, "Good morning. How are you? Where are the computers?" Because I was always in a hurry. I'm not exactly sure what I was in a hurry for, but I was always in a hurry. The other day, I was
oh,
in the pharmacy, and I have this wonderful pharmacist that speaks English. And in fact, when the other women in there, sometimes I try my French, and we get a little bit, but when they just can't figure out what I want, they will call Amer over, and he will help me. And the other day, I told him, I said, I bought these vitamins 2 months ago, and I can't get them open. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. He said, "Bring them in. I'll open it for you. And if I can't open it for you, I'll give you a new bottle." And I thought, oh my gosh.
that's a fantastic feedback, because we don't hear that often, especially in Paris, where often like Parisians have a bad reputation. So thank you for underlining this, like the fact that you only have positive experience.
And my Uber drivers that we have here, lovely, just lovely.
Mm. So Janice, how is it with your French? Like, what's your level and how do you communicate every day? Tell us a
I
little
don't have
bit.
a level.
No?
No, I don't even have a level. No. It's, when I order coffee, I know enough to how to order it. I hope my French teacher won't watch this. And the other day I was walking and I found, how they have the little, in this town, some towns have the little books that are free. It's like you can pick a book. I bought two children's books. I didn't
Oui, les
buy them.
bibliothèques,
Pick them
ouais,
out. Yes, I picked them out. And so I'm
les
trying to
boîtes à
read
livres.
the
Mhm.
French children's books, but and trying to pronounce it. So I'm trying to do something. And then I watch videos, but I don't know. I know enough to be polite, but not enough to even carry a conversation. But I go to Paul's every once in a while here, and there is a woman there. She is so lovely. And when I try to speak French, she will always encourage me and she'll say, "You are getting so much better."
Ah, c'est super.
You know, and then when I
Mhm.
go to the Biocup, um, it's like sometimes we speak French, sometimes we don't, but she always says goodbye to me.
When Janice talks about speaking French at the Biocoop, I know that feeling. A lot of my students come to me after the same experience. They just freeze. The words are there, but nothing comes out. That's why I focus on helping English speaking expats over 50 to feel confident and relaxed in French. I want you to enjoy the process, to have pleasure. And I'm patient, I adapt to your rhythm, and I use simple techniques to help you remember and actually use what you've learned in real life. You've got two options. You can work with me one-to-one for completely personalized lessons, Or, you can join one of my small group classes. They are friendly, supportive, and start every month. You'll find all the details at my website feelgoodfrench.com, along with free blog resources to help you get started. I also have a quiz there that you might enjoy to get to know your level. Let's make French feel good and finally useful so you can start to make real connection in French, en français.
And I'll say, "No, not goodbye." And she said, "Yes, goodbye." But so there we're very funny about going back and forth, and then the man that I buy the clothes from, he speaks 4 languages, and of course, fortunately for me, English is one of them, but, I know enough to order because even when I lived in, Cameroon, it's French and English, so I know how to order the
Ah,
bouffe and the poulet, and I knew
mm,
just certain words that even when I moved
mm,
here, I knew what I was purchasing.
mm,
But in the store, I think was a real, uh difficult time for me because I wanted to purchase certain cleaning items, and the cleaning items here are not as strong as the cleaning items at home. I don't seem to find things that the aerosol stuff, not as much aerosol because of the environment here. So it's kind of a shock sometimes, I think, when you first move here for the cleaning, you know. Sometimes I want something really strong and I want to smell that pine sol smell, and they just don't have it. But I
just
mean, you have to have
different.
equivalent, but you have to figure out what that is. I mean,
Mm.
I bought something one time and I thought I was buying dishwashing, I mean, dishwashing soap, and I was buying laundry soap.
Ah,
So, you have to learn that, but I just,
mm.
and I don't mind it.
Do you speak other languages or just
Mm.
so do you find
Unfortunately,
that it's a challenge for you to get to learn the pronunciation and
oh, yes, that's a huge challenge, but, I try my best. I keep learning, I keep practicing, and that's the best I can do. Will I
yeah.
ever be fluent? Absolutely not. Never, ever will I be fluent. Never. But I have enough that I think I can get across. I have neighbors here. Some speak English a little, not fluent English. Some speak English, but I find that French sometimes don't want to tell you that they speak English. I have been to the post office many times and never heard anyone speak English. And the other day I went and I handed her a card because I thought it was a package I was supposed to pick up. And what it was a card saying that what I had sent had arrived. And she told me in English. And I thought, I've been coming here for 3 years. I've never heard you speak English before. So a lot of times I will say, do you speak English? And they'll say no. And I'll go, well, then how did you understand me? But I think their confidence of speaking English is just like my confidence of speaking French. I don't wanna sound dumb, you know, but I just do the best I can,
I
and
think it's out of embarrassment
I do
more
a
than
yes, yes,
yeah.
I do a lot of hand gestures,
Yeah,
and then
non-verbal communication.
I have, uh, so many people will stop to pet Max, you know, and, I always wanna say something, but I don't know what to say except, "Merci," and I always wanna say I need to learn how to say, "He won't bite,"
Il ne
I need
mord pas, il ne
yes. What
mord
is
pas.
it?
Mordre, il ne
M
mord pas.
Maurepas,
Ouais.
Maurepas, okay.
Il ne mord
Thank
pas.
you. See, I've learned something. He doesn't bite. So, because a lot of people are afraid of him, but he just wants to be petted, but I've been teaching him that when someone walks by on the sidewalk, that he has to sit and let them pass by, but it's just really hard for him because he just wants them to love on him. But anyway,
Un bon chien. It's a good dog. Bon
yes,
chien.
yes. So sometimes I
People
say
must say, il est mignon. You must hear, il est mignon. He's cute. Il est
right, and then
mignon.
cuckoo,
Coucou.
cuckoo. Yeah,
Coucou. It's a
yeah,
cute word, coucou, to say
yeah,
hello. Coucou.
cuckoo. But usually that's for someone that you know.
Yeah,
That isn't someone
it's
you meet on the street.
childlike. It's a little
Yes,
bit
but I've heard
childlike,
people
coucou.
say that to Max. They'll say
Ah,
I
coucou
keep
le petit
referring to him
chien.
because he's sitting right beside me. They'll say, "Oh, cuckoo, cuckoo," and I know what that means now.
And I wanted to ask you as well, now you spoke about the languages. How is your social life in Fontainebleau?
I have as much or as little as I want,
Okay.
if that makes any sense.
You
Uh,
decide.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. And since I do 2 videos a week and I'm now just starting to write a book, uh, I like being by myself. Now, every once in a while, I call my friend Beverly and I was like, I've got to get out. I need some coffee, and we'll meet and we'll have coffee, and then we'll talk a little bit and then we go. But I love the idea of going out for coffee. I never did that in the States, but it is such a treat to just, and then I have a certain place over here that I go, and the gentleman is so nice to me. And when I walk in, he goes, De café? And I went, oh, yes, we, thank you. So he knows what I want. So I just go sit down and I just, it's just nice because people, that's what's so nice about being in a small town.
Yeah,
But I do realize that if you live out in the country, you really do need to know more French than what I know. I get by because Fontainebleau is a tourist town. So a lot of people in the shops do speak some English, if not good English, because
exactly.
of the tourists.
Mhm.
And so that's understandable. But if I lived, in the countryside, definitely would have to have a car, and I would have to have much more
Yeah,
French than what I
yeah.
know.
It's good to know to pick your place with all that in mind. Like
Yes,
you did it intuitively, but you had the right intuition for you
right.
and your needs. Um, I see the time is going fast, but I really wanted to ask. I'm curious to know what is your book about.
Seasons of life, and there will be little stories in there about for instance, I've always felt like, people always say January 1st is like a time to start over. I always feel like spring to me is the time of rebirth, a time to rethink what your plans are, what you want to do, or how you want to enhance your life. And so I'm going to speak about the seasons, but I'm going to put in anecdotes of me being a child, me being a teenager, an adult, an older woman in different seasons.
So,
And
what's your
and
current season right now?
my current season, oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't know, but I haven't hit summer. I'm still in spring. I'm sorry.
Ah.
I'm in spring right now because and I think that's what after Easter it's like for me it's like a renewal. What do you want to do for the rest of the year? What do you want to do this summer? What kind of plans do you have? I have trip planned in the end of September to Scotland. I'm going for a business trip in November, hopefully with my daughter to meet me there. I'm going to Munich and Vienna in December. And then in January, I'm back home where I mean, in the end of December, so I'll be back home when it's cold and kind of dreary outside, enjoying the warmth inside.
That seems to be a really beautiful book. I love
I hope
the.
so.
Please let me know when it's released. Do
I
you go
will.
for a self edition
I'm
or
not sure yet. I'm
okay,
not sure yet.
nice.
I'm just putting down what I think I want to say because I like to put personal anecdotes in there,
Hmm.
because I think people can relate more, especially people that might read it would be my age that can remember that when they were a little
Hmm.
girl. Yes, we did that at Easter. Yes, we did that at Christmas, that
Hmm.
kind of thing.
And you seem to be a happy person and quite present to your life. So I think you will bring a good perspective on how to live the season of life with the um, in a content manner. Like you seem to like be really the protagonist of your retirement and like live the retirement fully.
Yes.
And I think it's really I think you inspire a lot of people to do the
I hope
same.
so. I hope so
Mm.
because when I had my anxiety attack the other day and I talked about it on the TV, I mean on video, I got over 1,000 comments. And many of them said you need to go back to the States because you're getting older and what happens if something happens to you. If I lived like that, I would be miserable. I would have never moved here if I lived like that. So some people just don't understand my perspective And I'm certainly not trying to be disrespectful to them. But if I go home to Georgia and I sit there in an apartment and I'll go, well, okay, I'm here if something happens. My dad lived to be 89. My mother lived to be 86. Uh, there's nothing to be said if I don't take care of myself and I don't have something come up that I can't live to be older. So I can't live waiting for that moment to happen when I'm not well.
I told you when we first met that you seem to me quite courageous, like moving abroad by yourself with your pet to a new country where you didn't speak the language. And you said that you never saw yourself as
Mhm.
courageous. So, like, how do you how do you consider yourself? If it's not courage, what did it
Hard-headed,
take?
hard-headed,
Mm.
just hard-headed, doing what I want to do, sticking to what I feel that I should do. It's the same thing when I meet people, like when I have a meetup and people come in and they say, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. It's so nice to finally see you." And I think that just amazes me why people would feel that way. It really does. It's not embarrassing. I mean, I certainly appreciate it, but I think, why? There's nothing special about me. There are many women. I saw a story the other day of a woman who's 75. She moved to the country. I mean, she lives in a little house. She didn't even see the house before she bought the house. You know. Uh but when people walk up to me or saying, "Oh, you're Janice in France," and I keep thinking, "Yes, but I'm just me." You know. So I find it very difficult sometimes to accept that people really think that I'm special to meet, I guess.
From my point of view, I think, and I think maybe that's the reason behind your success. I think it's you have this, as you mentioned at the beginning, that you have this confidence and you have this maybe self-worth, or like you don't pretend, like you really honest and you are yourself. And I think that's a it's kind of a rarer quality nowadays, where as we said, like people want to conform and maybe they make video and they want to be like perfect or smooth and like just clean like in French we say arrondir les angles, to round the corner, to
Mhm.
please. And I think you are there is this life force in you that makes you like just be yourself, like you just go for it. And for you it seems natural, it doesn't seem courageous, you just like yourself. But I think because lots of us, maybe I put myself in this category, we are like people pleaser, we want
Oh,
to
no, I am a
uh,
people pleaser. I
yeah.
am, because when I see one of my videos, I'll say, "Oh my gosh, they could see that part of my house, and that's not what I want them to." That's just me, And I
To a
remember
certain
today
degree, but
I
maybe
was
it's
doing
just
a
a little
video,
bit.
and I remember somebody made the comment about my bangs one time, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I gotta do my ba," and I thought, "Oh,
Mm.
don't worry about it." That was one person, you know.
Yeah,
Because they
yeah.
said, I can't even watch your videos because your bangs are so long. I have to turn my head and just listen to you." And I thought, oh my God,
How do you deal with the comments? Because when a video gets viral and there is a lot of comments, for sure there will be like critics or bad words, or sometimes it's really positive, extremely positive. So how do you deal with that? Does that change anything? Do you like care for them or?
if it's political, I remove them.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I've made on my post several times, nothing political. If I find that the other day, because of me putting this out there, I had over 1,000 comments on YouTube, and 99.8% were very positive. But then all of a sudden, there was this one woman, she's talking about another woman, and, and I thought, no, 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 we're not going to have that. So I removed them, you
Mhm.
know. And then one lady one day said something about I removed her and it wasn't a racist comment. And I thought, well, it was a racist comment to me. So the next time she wrote it, I not only deleted it, I removed her. So there is a lot of that I see, but very, very little. Most of it, I felt last week that my community had just put their arms around me and said, okay, let's just try to figure this out. What's going on
Yeah,
here?
yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's
That's
how I
really
felt.
lovely.
Yeah.
I see it's almost the end. I like to ask to the people who already take the leap to move to France, if you have any advice for the people. I know you already gave some very insightful advice, like don't move for political reason. It needs to be like from you, internal. But for the people, because I saw some comments on former videos of women specifically that were asking for videos of inspiring women that decided to move by themselves. So for those women that are still in the US or in the UK or Australia, whatever, who are like at this stage where they hesitate, they feel the call, but they are a little bit scared, or they have a bit of fear, or like what could you say to them?
I have two things I would say to them. One thing, make it happen. Just make it happen. The second thing, if there's anyone out there that's really on the fence and they can't really make up their mind, you can always email me and I will talk to them like that. I have no problem. But just make
Beautiful.
it happen. If you have this yearning desire to do something and you can do it, make it happen.
Just without overthinking it.
You can always go back.
Yeah.
You can always go back, but no, don't overthink it. Just do it. I mean, of course, do your research and all of that, but just, and there's enough videos out there of people that have done research, people that will help you, people that will, you can pay to help you and all that kind of stuff, but just make it happen.
Well, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Janice.
Thank you so
It took
much.
a little while, but I think we could still chat up about many, many things.
I
But
know,
we
but
could
I,
do
I do appreciate it. You're just very
yeah.
kind and you're such a great person to do an interview with. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
thank you.
Very
Well,
easy to speak with.
nice. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Janice. Thank you for sharing your story. And if you haven't yet, go check out her channel. It's full of humor, honesty, and a real glimpse into life in France. You enjoyed this episode? There are plenty more like it. Honest conversation with expats and retirees navigating big change. Hit subscribe to stay updated and support the show. It really means a lot. And if you are beginning your own French chapter, just remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. Just take it one day at a time and build something that feels like home. La maison. À bientôt!